But how did you know as a founder that that was absolutely the right way to go, right? You could, like, clearly you have this team of smart people you've hired in your marketing department to help you come up with the right things on a cover. You're essentially overruling them and saying, like, I know I'm correct, that I feel it in my gut because you've been at it so long, whatever the reason was to do this right. Lots of founders could go the other way. They make that call and they get it right. And then they feel like they can make that call every single time. And at some point they're going to be wrong and boom, the company falls off a cliff.
So I didn't. And I think one of the things that helped them is that I laid out certain guidelines for the way the company was going to be perceived by way of reputation and quality. And I laid those out in general terms, and then I let them make all the decisions about what that meant. Okay. Kind of like if you go to a designer and you say, I want it to be chic and modern. Okay, well, I'm not telling you that's what I want. Now, if they make something chic and modern, you're like, cool, that's even better than I would have thought of it. But if they make something like, classic and traditional, you can look at it and go, nope. Okay. And it's your concept. It's your idea. You want to build the business. You hired them to do that. That's why that matters. So if you hire people to be app developers in your app developer company and they want to make cars, well, you're not a good boss by giving them all the latitude to make cars. That's not what you're doing. So that was part of it. The second part of it is because I rarely ever went in on a micro detail like that and said, this can't be done. Okay. They knew that if I was doing it, it must be important. I would have my reasons. The other thing too is logic is behind me. There's no person you can sit in front of and say to them, if you love dogs, would you be happy to read a magazine that has a dog and a person on it? They all say yes. And so logically I had it. And so it's pretty easy to do, but it was also very easy to show them that some people will not open a magazine with just a dog on it. They don't care. And in fact, not only do they not care, they have a pretty negative opinion about that. Okay. And so I was able to show them why this was real and then follow through on it. Now, once I did that, first of all, you know how I knew that it turned out great, Adam, is that, so we had a very playful, attitude at work. Okay. And we love to play and our culture is very strong. So even though we can talk about these sorts of things.
Was everyone in the office, by the way, or was it remote or?
Several hundred people in the office and then, thousands of people across the country as well too. Because we were located in every state and province and then our home office was there. We had more than one home office setting, one for production and then another one for administration. But so the production team actually came in and they do the designs and we met at the home office and we were younger at the time. We didn't have hundreds of employees at this time. I mean, at this point is like dozens when they're early on doing this sort of thing. But, they said, hey, Dave, can you approve the magazines this week? Well, that was a funny question because I didn't really approve the magazines. I just went through a couple of times and looked at this particular thing to do. So I thought the request was a little bit kind of like overly docile, but I thought maybe they're just being respectful about this or whatever because I had to come back the second time and say no to the dog. So they put this in front of me. There's like 50 magazines. I'm just brushing through them and I go through the first 3 or 4 are fine. And then it's like just a cat. Just a dog, just a cat. They had made like 10 fake covers to put on these magazines just to punk me. And then they recorded my expression when I was looking at them. My face is progressively getting redder and redder and redder. Although I kept my cool. I said, you know what, you guys, we got to talk again. And then they just started laughing when I said that. So that's fun that comes back around to it. But I can tell you the point is, just like Elon, when I was done with that, I went on from it. And I had great people in place that took care of it. There's no way, because within my company, we built several companies too. We built 2 additional companies and spun one out and then merged another one back in. And I couldn't be the CEO of all those companies if I'm paying attention if there's a dog on the cover of now 1,300 magazines, right? That's impossible. And so Elon, while he has a reputation for sticking the landing in certain areas, then walks away from that landing and maybe gets a report on it. But that's very different than micromanaging, if that makes sense.